It's time for America Outdoors Radio, the show that covers the outdoor scene across the U.S. of A. and the entire continent. Fishing, hunting, conservation, outdoor recreation, and great destinations. We cover it all every week. It's your country, your outdoors. Let's explore it together with your host, John Kruse.
Welcome to the show. It is early September and hunting opportunities are starting to open up across the United States. We'll tell you more about that during the show today. But first, let me tell you about the great guests we've got for you. One of them is Matt Dwonch. He is with the Wild Sheep Foundation. He just penned a great article accompanied by some wonderful photos about how to make the most of the photos that you're going to shoot of that trophy ram that you just downed. Like Matt's going to tell you, a wild sheep hunt is quite often the only time you're going to be able to go after one of these animals, because in many states it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So you don't want to waste the opportunity to really savor the moment. And Matt's got about 10 different tips he's going to share with you to take better photos the next time you're out hunting, especially if you're hunting wild sheep. Another guest we'll talk to today is Brian Tucker. He's with Hi Mountain Seasonings out of Riverton, Wyoming. He's going to tell you about some of the spices and rubs and sausage making equipment and pepperoni making equipment they have for you. And he's also going to share a mouth-watering smoked dove recipe. And with dove hunting opening up in several states this weekend, like Arkansas, and already open since the first in many other states, this is going to be a recipe you're going to want to hear and try out. Who else do we have for you? Well, that would be Caitlyn Carnes. She's with Visit Galveston. And if you've never been to Galveston Island in Texas, you might just think of it as a place to hop on a cruise ship or maybe head down to the beach, but there's some great fishing to be had there and all sorts of wonderful events happening this month too. We're talking about fishing in Galveston Bay. We're talking about fishing in the Gulf and the wide variety of species of fish you can catch. And we're talking about fishing off one of the 3 piers they have on Galveston Island. Caitlyn's going to tell you what you can catch right off the piers. She's also going to tell you about a great place to kayak and hike if you're into bird watching and just being in nature. And she'll tell you about 2 fun events. Next weekend, there's going to be the annual Sandcastle Festival that's taking place. And if you want to see some really well-constructed and architected sandcastles, you really ought to check this out. And then later in September, they've got their annual Shrimp Festival. If you like to eat shrimp and seafood, you don't want to miss out on this. Like I said, we got some great conversations coming your way. But first, let's dive into some outdoors news. And we're going to start off with a story from the Fishing Wire. Congratulations are in order to a crew that captured the Casco Bay Cup at the 7th Annual Bluefin Bonanza. The dateline for this, South Portland, Maine. Captain Bobby Strong and his crew of the Amy Lynn captured the Casco Bay Cup in first place in the 2025 Casco Bay Bluefin Bonanza with a 659.5-pound bluefin they landed on the tournament's second to last day. The 4-day tournament is based out of Spring Point Marina in South Portland. It ran from July 27th through the 31st. Bob Humphrey, the Bluefin Bonanza president and tournament director, said, "We were a little nervous going into this year's tournament. Fishing had been very slow, and a tournament the previous week accounted for only a handful of fish. Fortunately, the bite heated up just in time and got better throughout the week." Anglers ultimately landed 17 fish over the 4 fishing days, with Amy Lynn's topping the list. Now, this tournament is the middle leg of this year's Gulf of Maine Grand Slam. The first was the Bailey Island Fishing Tournament, held a week earlier, and the competition is going to round out with the Booth Bay Harbor Tuna Challenge, where the top tuna boat in New England will be crowned. If you want to find out more about the Bluefin Bonanza, just go to bluefinbonanza.org. Turning to hunting, the Idaho Department of Fish and Game has got some good information to help prevent your meat from spoiling during this warm weather month. Now, the main takeaway from this article is that the key to preserving meat in hot weather is to begin the cooling process as quickly as possible, because meat spoils the quickest around the ball joints in the hip and underneath the front shoulders. Your harvest should be immediately skinned, reduced to quarters, and quickly transported to cold storage. In larger animals, it may even be necessary to make some cuts in between muscles to the bone to allow heat to escape. Large muscle masses take a long time to cool, and meat can spoil in a matter of hours if heat cannot escape. The failure to cool meat down fast enough may result in what's known as bone souring, which is caused by an explosion of bacteria, typically near the bones, that gives the meat a pungent aroma and foul taste. Once bone souring has occurred, there is no way to salvage or reverse it. Here's some additional tips from the Idaho Department of Fish and Game about meat care, to include the fact that meat can spoil overnight. When an animal is harvested in the evening, it still needs to be found, cleaned, and processed as quickly as possible. Keep in mind that the ground is a great insulant, and while the elevated part of the carcass might cool slightly, the bottom side will retain heat and sometimes spoil if left overnight. Another tip, have ice available. If you're making a relatively short trip from the field to home or the field to camp, fill the body cavity of an unskinned pronghorn or deer with ice bags to help cool it. Smart tip. But beware, body heat can remain in the thickest parts of the animal, such as the hindquarters, and stuffing with ice is only a temporary measure. Another tip, don't hang meat if it's too hot. It's safer to skin, quarter, and put the meat on ice rather than hang it in fluctuating temperatures. A large cooler will hold most or all of the deer that's been quartered, or an elk that has been cut into smaller pieces. You'll also want to find a meat processor. It's becoming more common for hunters to take animals to a processing facility rather than butcher the meat at home. Knowing where the nearest meat processing facilities are and their hours will make it much easier to get meat taken care of quickly. Should also protect the meat from insects. In temperatures below 40 degrees, flies are rarely a problem, but in higher temperatures, flies are your enemy. Game bags are essential to keep the meat free of flies and clean as well. In warm weather, always bag skinned meat immediately. It is far easier to keep meat clean than it is to remove fly eggs, hair, dirt, grass, and pine needles later. Finally, use water carefully. There's conflicting views about washing down a big game animal with water after it is skinned. Most professional meat processors agree that using clean cold water to remove animal hair and dirt if the carcass air dries quickly so that the water does not encourage bacterial growth. A cold water spray can also hasten the cooling process. So there you go, some great tips to help you avoid spoiling your game meat during the month of September and October from the Idaho Department of Fish and Game. Finally, applause is in order to the state of Vermont, where we learn penalties are increasing for wildlife offenses. According to the Vermont Fish and Wildlife Department, poachers who illegally shoot deer, bear, moose, or wild turkey now face higher fines and jail sentences. Maximum fines have doubled from $1,000 to $2,000, with a potential jail sentence of up to 60 days for the first offense. A second offense now brings a maximum fine of $5,000 and a potential jail sentence of up to 180 days. The same penalties also now apply for possessing, transporting, buying, or selling big game, violations of threatened or endangered species laws, interference with hunting, fishing, or trapping, and illegal commercial importation or possession of wild animals. All of these changes, which are now in effect, were passed by the Vermont legislature in the spring, and I'm glad to see this because in way too many states, poachers get a slap on the wrist and it doesn't deter them from doing it again. Increasing penalties like this might just help. Stick around. We've got a lot more of the outdoors coming your way, to include some great conversations with some great guests. And the first one you're going to hear from, well, that would be Brian Tucker with Hi Mountain Seasonings. He's going to share a mouth-watering smoked dove recipe right after this short break. Do you remember shooting a .22 rifle for the first time? I do. I was a Boy Scout in summer camp, and that experience launched my passion for shooting that carries over to this day. If you're looking for a bolt-action .22 caliber rifle to introduce your kid into shooting, you really need to buy a Mini Bolt Youth G2 from Henry Repeating Arms. This bolt-action rifle is sized for smaller frames. It only weighs 3¼ pounds and has an 11.5-inch length of hole. The Mini Bolt Youth G2 also features high-visibility fiber optic sights that make aiming intuitive. You can choose from a classic black synthetic stock or Muddy Girl camo, and they've got something brand new. That would be a newly integrated feed ramp in the receiver for easier, smoother loading. The Made in America Mini Bolt Youth G2 is available at sporting goods stores throughout the country. Find an authorized dealer at henryusa.com. That's henryusa.com.
A sharp blade makes short work of any project you have in the outdoors, in the kitchen, or in the shop. Hone your knives and tools with quality power and manual sharpeners from WorkSharp. Find out more at worksharptools.com.
Explore the Dalles, the hub where discovery and history come together. Whether the Northwest is your home or you're on an adventure, the Dalles welcomes you. Just 80 miles east of Portland is the perfect year-round escape with a community that cares about you. 300 days of sun, breathtaking outdoor recreation, and a downtown full of the unexpected. Oh, and the rich history that began before the Oregon Trail. Start planning at explorethedalles.com.
Looking to reel in the marketing opportunity of a lifetime? Then set the hook, because we've got it right here. America Outdoors Radio has sponsorships available, and we offer an affordable platform to reach thousands of listeners interested in fishing, hunting, and the outdoors. Find out more by contacting host John Kruse through his website at AmericanOutdoorsRadio.com. That's AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. But hurry, if you wait too long, this big opportunity might just get away. That's AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com.
You're back in with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Kruse. Our next stop is Riverton, Wyoming. That's home of our affiliate, KVOW AM 1450, which airs our shows Saturday at 7 a.m. And it is also the home of Hi Mountain Seasonings. And if you are looking for seasonings or sausage making supplies or pepperoni making supplies and a whole lot more, you've got to check out their website. It's really easy. Just go to HiMTNJerky.com. It's HiMTNJerky.com. With us here to tell you more about Hi Mountain Seasonings and a delicious dove recipe they have is their Assistant General Manager, Brian Tucker. Brian, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit more about Hi Mountain Seasonings located in the Cowboy State?
Yeah, so we actually kind of have a lot of customers who are surprised that we're here, that they'll come through Riverton and not realize that they went right through our hometown. So yeah, we've been here since 1991, coming up on our 35th anniversary next year. Started with our original jerky kit that was made in the original owner's home on a seasoning roaster, and they kind of grew the company from there. And 20 years ago, current owners Hans and Kimberly Hummel bought the company, and it's just really taken off with our product offering. I mean, we've got somewhere around 200 different products, whether that's a single individual kit to bulk seasoning to shakers, dips, rubs, jerky making kits, sausage making kits, kind of anywhere in between.
What are some of your top sellers?
So the original kit that I mentioned at the start of the company is our number one selling product to this day, which is pretty crazy that it started the company, and here we are almost 36 years later, and it's still carrying us. Our original summer sausage kit is always a big fan favorite. Our variety packs are for people who aren't real sure on which kind of jerky that they may like. They can get one that has 5 different flavors. Our steak rub, rib rub, garlic pepper rub are always popular. You know, those are some of the ones that kind of are staples for everybody.
And you've got brines too, don't you?
We do. We do have a lot of brines, whether you're going to do birds or fish or anything like that. You know, this time of year, people, whether it's here in Alaska, Canada, heck, even down to Australia, you know, they're catching fish, and brining is a great way to do it. September's here. It's dove season, duck and goose and pheasant season's right around the corner here in the next couple months. All great ways to do it. Thanksgiving, if you don't want that drier bird from the oven, you're going to smoke it, oven cook it, deep fry it. Brining's a great option.
Well, speaking of brine, you just happened to have an article in the Outdoor Wire that was all about a smoked dove recipe, and it involves your Hi Mountain Seasonings game bird brine. And, dove season opened up in a lot of states, on Labor Day, the 1st.
Yep.
In other states, it's opening up this weekend. I think that includes Arkansas. So I think folks have some interest in this. Now, I've always just made dove kebabs or apricot doves, but this recipe sounds delicious. Why don't you walk our listeners through it? Now, first off, you need 20 dove breasts bone in, right?
Right. So that's helpful. So this is a recipe that came from one of our PR guys that they do on a regular basis. So yeah, you need 20 dove breasts. You're going to use one of our kits, like you said, the game bird and poultry brine. You use one bag. You're going to mix that bag of brine with a gallon of water. You're going to let them soak in that brine for 24 hours. So you just got to make sure that they're completely submerged.
Okay.
After that, you can rinse them, in cold water, make sure that all that excess brine has come off. Let them dry a little bit, and you can go ahead and put them in your smoker at about 225 degrees. You're going to make sure that reaches that safe internal cooking temperature, in that 150 to 160 range. And then you're going to have a really nice smoked dove breast. It's going to be moist. And then we have a glaze that you're going to be able to put on top of it, whether you can use a little bit of olive oil with our trail dust seasoning. And then at the very end, you're going to take some melted butter with some brown sugar and then glaze it while it's warm.
Oh, about how long does it take to cook up the dove breast at 225?
So the thing is, it's going to vary. Here in Wyoming, our elevations are going to be a little bit higher than most places. And at that point, it can add into the cooking time frame, so it can take a little bit longer. Other places, humidity plays a factor. If I decided to put them right into the smoker for some reason versus letting them sit at room temperature for an hour, they're a little bit colder. So that's kind of why we give that cooking temperature. I don't want to give an exact number. Say it takes an hour and a half. Someone's got different variables than I do, and it doesn't come up to temperature, and then it's not safe.
Now, one thing that you mentioned there is you're going to season this towards the end with your Hi Mountain Trail Dust. What kind of rub or spice is this?
So it's one of our Western-style seasonings that we came out with years ago. It's a very popular all-purpose. It's got some paprika, some peppers in it. It's got a little bit of a bite for spice. It's not too spicy at all. A lot of people love it on popcorn, vegetables, anything like that. It's a great compliment, though, when you're doing something like a dove breast or anything else like that.
Well, I'll tell you what, folks, this sounds like a delicious way to eat dove. And if you didn't get the whole recipe, that's okay. Just go to the Outdoor Wire and look for the August 28th edition, and you'll find the release there, and it'll give you all the steps that you need to make some delicious dove. Again, this sounds absolutely delicious. Now, Brian, I also understand you've got something brand new out, and it has to do with pepperoni.
Correct. So went ahead and we introduced a kit to make pepperoni yourself at home. It's going to be the pepperoni that you can slice. It's going to be like the Ritz cracker size. It's great for pizzas, just snack it like on a charcuterie board, anything like that. So the kit itself is going to make 10 pounds of meat. And you have the option of making it where you just add the ingredients, cook it, and then it's ready to go after curing time. Obviously, you cure it first, then cook it, and then you can slice it, eat it. There's instructions to add in citric acid to dry age it if you want a little bit harder pepperoni, because it is traditionally a dried sausage itself. So we're pretty excited about it. Retail is $14.99. It is available on our website. A lot of our retailers are starting to pick it up as well. It is, and then pepperoni, like our press release will say, is the number one pizza topping aside from cheese and marinara sauce, obviously, in the country.
Well, not only that, pepperoni is just great to snack on if you're having a gathering at the house for a football game, and it's a great snack for the holidays, too.
Absolutely.
Let's move on to what's coming up in terms of specials. I know it's September, but Black Friday is actually kind of on the horizon at this point, isn't it?
Right, it is. So that's something we always offer a little bit better specials on. We do have our monthly specials that we have that each month it changes. So currently, we are offering our sausage kits on a 20% off. Just keep an eye out. Be sure to sign up for our newsletter on our website. As those dates get closer, we'll start to send information out on what we're going to be offering. I can't let you know what that is at this point just because we're not there yet, but we always do some sort of specials for the holiday season for sure. Like I said, best way to do that is through our website.
All right. And that website, again, folks, really easy. That's himountainjerky.com. And I'm going to spell it out, HIMTN jerky.com. That's HIMTN jerky.com. Check out everything that Hi Mountain Seasonings out of Wyoming has to offer, and sign up for the newsletter and be in the know about some great specials coming your way. Brian, thanks so much for sharing all of this with us today on America Outdoors Radio.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Do you love to fish? Do you love to eat fish? Well, if you do, you know how important it is to have something to keep things sharp. Now, in the boat, it might be something to keep your hook sharp, like maybe the pocket knife sharpener from Work Sharp, which also works just fine along with the guided field sharpener for keeping fillet knives sharp. So when it comes to cleaning those fish you catch for the day, you can get that done in a hurry. And let's not forget, back at the house, when you're preparing those fish for a meal, that's when you want to have a kitchen knife sharpener, and there's several electric ones available. You can find them all at worksharptools.com, which lists all sorts of both manual and electric sharpeners you can use in the kitchen, in the shop, or in the field. Sharp hooks and sharp knives make for a happy day on the water, so get your sharpener today at worksharptools.com or look for these products at quality sporting goods stores and hardware stores near you.
Modular. When it comes to getting the most out of your Camp Chef 2-burner propane stove, that's the word to use. Sure, you can cook directly over either burner with a pot or pan, but how about putting a grill box on to serve up burgers, steaks, or chicken? Put a griddle on to cook up your breakfast. Pizza? We've got that covered too with our pizza oven that you place right over the stove. Whatever you're cooking while camping or at home, Camp Chef has got you covered. Find out more about modular stove accessories at campchef.com today.
When you think of Henry Repeating Arms, you likely think of their American-made classic lever-action rifles and beautiful Golden Boy and Tribute Edition rifles. It doesn't stop there, though. Henry also has the Henry Long Ranger and lever-action Supreme models, as well as their big boy revolvers, the 9mm Homesteader carbine, and the venerable AR-7 survival rifle. Check out the entire line of Henry Repeating Arms firearms and find an authorized dealer near you at henryusa.com.
Welcome back to America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Kruse. Our next stop is Galveston Island. It's that very well-known island in Texas, not too far from Houston. And a lot of folks just think of the town. A lot of folks probably remember the great storm that hit there 125 years ago. But if you're into the outdoors and you're into fishing, this is a great place to go to. With us here to tell you more about it is Caitlyn Carnes. She's the Public Relations Manager with Visit Galveston. Caitlyn, welcome to the show.
Hi, John. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, thanks for taking the time to be on here because you've got some events I want to talk about. But before we do, let's talk about the fishing. I understand you've got quite the charter boat fleet, and I know you can fish in Galveston Bay or you can fish in the Gulf. What kind of trips are available? What are anglers catching?
Sure, yeah. So we have something for everybody as far as booking a charter. If you're not looking for, the all-day strap-to-your-chair 12-hour fishing trip, you can go off into the bay, and there's excellent fishing just right, 4 or 5 miles into the bay in the ship channel of Galveston. You've got redfish, trout, black drum, flounder. So that's really easy. You can either do a charter or you can rent a boat and kind of do it yourself. And then if you're going out into the Gulf on, one of those big adventures, you've got all kinds of big fish to chase out there: marlin, mahi-mahi, wahoo, some more red snapper, tuna. We've had quite a bit of sargassum off in the Gulf, and they breed tuna, so it's been a really good year for tuna fishing.
Okay, well, that sounds wonderful. Now, if you don't have a boat, you have not one and not two, but 3 fishing piers you can fish off of. Tell us about these fishing piers.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's 3 fishing piers on Galveston Island that you can get your bait and tackle at or bring it yourself. And they're really great for catching jack, creevil, sheep's head, catch quite a few small sharks off the pier. There's some larger shark fishing in the bay, catch and release, obviously. But if you're looking for kind of that adventure, we do have charter fishermen that specialize in shark fishing. And then Seawolf Park is another great option. It's on Pelican Island, just across the Galveston Ship Channel. So you've got a beautiful view of historic downtown Galveston from Pelican Island, but you also have great deep water pier fishing because the ship channel is right there and it's dredged. So very deep, very popular fishing spot as well.
Tell me about Seawolf Park, because not only is there a fishing pier there, but there's some other tourist attractions as well.
Yeah, so Seawolf Park is also home to the Galveston Naval Museum, which is a really popular military exhibit. They've got 2 dry dock attractions. One is a World War II submarine called the Kavala, and the other is a World War I tanker called the Selma. Actually, the Selma is offshore, which is such a fascinating display. It was a concrete ship from World War I, the largest ever constructed, and it's now a very popular fishing spot, but you can see it from Seawolf Park. And then the Stewart is also part of the Naval Museum exhibit. It's a destroyer.
Yes. So here's a question. It seems very counterintuitive that you would build a ship out of concrete. Wouldn't it, proverbially sink like a rock?
It actually, it did eventually decay, but it actually did float and have an active part in World War I. So obviously was not the most sustainable method or material for ships. They hopefully don't do that anymore, but it did indeed float.
All right. Now, if you want to go floating, you might be able to do so in a kayak. You've got a place called East End Lagoon. I understand you've got some hiking trails there, and it's just kind of a really nice place to see some wildlife and get out in nature.
Yes, yeah. East End Lagoon is beautiful. It has a kayak launch. There are also some organizations that lead some kayak experiences out there that you can do. So it's a beautiful place for kayaking. It's a very well-known birding spot. Galveston is a very popular place for birding. We see over 1,000 different types of migratory birds a year, both with spring and fall migration. So definitely a beautiful place to go see some reddish egrets, some swallows. It's got some great wildlife, very peaceful. It's at the very east end of the island, so not a lot out there. And then on the west side of the island, we have the Galveston Island State Park, where you can also do some kayaking. There's some great walking trails, geocaching for the kids. And it's one of the only places on Galveston Island that you can tent camp on the beach. So there's a beach side and a bay side to that state park, and they recently underwent a multi-million-dollar renovation. So it's beautiful. They've got some great activations, and you can rent gear from them as well.
Now, I understand that there's also a big RV park on the island that's basically waterfront. Tell me about this for our listeners who might want to take an RV down there.
Sure, yeah. We have Delanera RV Park, which is right on the sand. It's got its own private beach, and it's nice and small, especially for Galveston. There's a couple other RV parks that are a little more expansive, but this is a little more exclusive. It's got a great clubhouse, and it's very conveniently situated on the island on the west end, so very close to the state park, but also very close to all of the historic downtown arts and culture attractions that you can experience if you're wanting to get into town, get some food. It's a wonderful spot.
All right. Now let's shift gears to talk about a couple of upcoming events. And one of them is happening next weekend, September 13th and 14th. It's the Galveston Sandcastle Festival. Tell us more.
Yes, the Sandcastle Festival is one of my favorite events. It's a great way to wrap up summer. It started off as just a fundraiser for the Houston's Architectural Society, and they would do a large-scale sandcastle building competition. Colleges from around the country would send their architect students down and they would compete. But last year and going forward, they have teamed up with one of our music festivals. So La Izquierda is a music festival group that puts on activations and music-related festivals throughout the year. So now there's music and sandcastle building. There's amateur sandcastle building. You don't have to be an architect or a professional, but it's now kind of mixed with live music, and it's definitely grown its footprint, and every year it gets better and better.
Oh, that sounds like it's going to be all sorts of fun. But wait, there's more. September 26th and 27th, this one I wish I could go to, the Galveston Island Shrimp Festival.
Yes, the Shrimp Festival is an amazing time. It's a great showcase of the wild caught, not only shrimp, but Gulf seafood that we have on the island. So you can get a ticket and they give you a little sample gumbo cup and you get to go around and taste everything from seafood gumbo to wild game gumbo to the traditional categories. There's a wonderful shrimp dinner. There's music. Galveston in the fall is definitely known for its festivals, and Shrimp Festival is one of the good ones for sure.
And how's the weather in September?
It's so pretty. In September, we're still sitting at about upper 70s, mid 80 degree weather. So beautiful and temperate, but thankfully in Galveston, unlike Houston, we get a lovely breeze off the water, and we're only a 2-mile wide island, so you can feel the breeze everywhere. And the water temperature is about the same as the outside temperature, so you're looking at 78 to 80 degrees in the water as well. So perfect time to come, less crowded. The beach combing is excellent in mid to late September and even into October. So it's definitely my favorite time of the year.
All right. Well, folks, you've got all sorts of reasons to head to Galveston, Texas this month. There's a lot going on, whether you're into the Sandcastle Festival, the Shrimp Festival, or just want to go fishing or camping or kayaking. It's all waiting for you. You can find out more by going to visitgalveston.com. That's visitgalveston.com. Caitlyn, thank you so much for sharing this with us today on America Outdoors Radio.
Thank you so much.
Sticking to upcoming events, a Red Trout Go Live one-day tournament is taking place September 27th. And anybody in any state that has redfish and speckled trout can participate. Anglers from across the country are going to unite for a fishing tournament where the proceeds are going to be going to Florida Insider Fishing Reports Captain Jeff Page. Captain Page has been battling lung disease causing inflammation of his lungs and difficulty breathing, and he's doing so without insurance. So the tournament is a one-day event. It kicks off at 6:30 a.m. It goes to 1:30 p.m., and it's going to feature a catch, weigh, release Facebook Live format where anglers will compete for top prizes by weighing in the heaviest redfish up to 9 pounds and the single heaviest trout. And teams of 3 anglers will compete using artificial lures only. The entry fee is $375 per team, and there's going to be over $7,000 in payouts. Sign up today by going to thenationalredfishtour.com. That's thenationalredfishtour.com. Looks like it's going to be a fun tournament with a very good cause.
In today's news, I'm cooking a brisket. Let's go to Jill at my house to see how it's going.
This is your house and you brought me and the crew to check on your brisket?
That's correct, Jill. How's it looking?
This is a Camp Chef Woodwind Wi-Fi. You know you can check your cook right from your phone, right?
I didn't know that was an option, Jill. Well, never mind. But before you leave, can you feed the dog?
What? No.
When we get back, why is my check engine light on? The answer may shock me.
When you think of Henry Repeating Arms, you likely think of their American-made classic lever-action rifles and beautiful Golden Boy and Tribute Edition rifles. It doesn't stop there, though. Henry also has the Henry Long Ranger and lever-action Supreme models, as well as their big boy revolvers, the 9mm Homesteader carbine, and the venerable AR-7 survival rifle. Check out the entire line of Henry Repeating Arms firearms and find an authorized dealer near you at henryusa.com.
John Kruse here, looking to improve your bottom line as a business that caters to outdoors enthusiasts? You can do so for a very cost-effective price by advertising on America Outdoors Radio. I will tailor a marketing campaign for you, reaching hundreds of thousands of listeners every weekend tuning into our show on 135 stations in 33 states. We've got a sponsor opening right now, so contact me through my website at americaoutdoorsradio.com and let's talk about helping you.
Come explore the Dalles in Oregon for outdoors fun. Hike amongst the wildflowers, bike our riverfront trail, or visit the Gorge Discovery Center where you can enjoy a live raptor display, or even check out our National Neon Sign Museum. But don't forget the fishing. We've got salmon, steelhead, bass, walleye, and monster-sized sturgeon waiting just for you. When the day is done, tell those tall tales at one of our wineries, breweries, or restaurants and plan your next adventure. Find out more at explorethedalles.com.
You know, a lot of times you have to choose between something high quality or something that saves you money. But what if you could get both? Why not? Especially when it comes to healthcare, and that is MediShare. you get both. Many families save $500 a month with MediShare, and that's huge, but it's also true that people wind up way more satisfied, too. And we know this from research of members. There's a lot they like about MediShare, but especially they love being part of something they believe in. And MediShare works, too. It has for more than 30 years. There are hundreds of thousands of members who love having telehealth if they need it. They love the huge PPO network. So, yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or you're part of the gig economy or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price in 2 minutes. Here's the number. Call 855-SHARE-40. That's 855-SHARE-40. 855-SHARE-40.
You're back in with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Kruse. Have you ever hunted for wild sheep? It's quite a task to do so. It's not an easy hunt. It never is. And when you finally get that ram, you want to get a good photo of it. And maybe you've gotten photos and you've been disappointed. Well, there's a man who wrote a great article about taking exceptional photos in the field of your trophy. That would be Matt Dwonch. He's a communications and marketing strategist for the Wild Sheep Foundation. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thank you, John. I really appreciate the introduction.
Well, I really appreciate the article that you wrote because it was very well done. And so let's just kind of break down some of these tips for our listeners here. You know, you're just down that trophy and you've got some great suggestions. The first one is let the background tell a story. Tell me more.
Yeah, so wild sheep, if you know anything about them, they live in some of the most beautiful places on Earth. From Alaska, you got the Dall sheep up there, all the way down to Mexico, you've got the desert sheep. And across the board, they live in some of the most unique landscapes in the western United States. And that's not even getting into our international sheep, which also exist. But really, wherever you harvest your sheep, it's very likely going to be a gorgeous location, a unique location. And so one of the best parts about the hunt of hunting wild sheep is where you're doing it. So you want to, wherever you are, capture that story by getting great background to your photos.
So let's go to the next one. Respect the animal. And I like this one a lot.
Yeah, so this is, you'll see number 2 is respect the animal, and number 3 is clean up the animal. So those two kind of go together. But this is more than likely, for most people, a ram is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So you want to do justice to this moment. You don't want to have blood on the animal. You don't want to have it sprawled out in weird ways. You want to do as much justice to this animal because this could be the only time you get this opportunity. So you want people to remember it how you saw it when you were there. You don't want to have a skewed image of what that moment was. You want to represent it well.
And I like the positioning of the animal itself. So you suggest, don't let it just be crumpled on the ground, but instead tuck the legs underneath and hold the head up because it looks just more natural that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that goes for really any animal. For the most part, they'll look much better with the legs tucked underneath.
There you go. Now, the next one is a good photography tip, like you said, for any animal, and that's get eye level. Don't be up top. Don't be down below. Eye to eye. Why is that so important?
Yeah, you just don't want goofy angles. So this is for, people don't like photographs being taken of them from a high angle. It just doesn't capture it as well. You want to be in line with the animal, looking it dead in the eye. Who wants to be looking up or down or at a weird angle at such a beautiful animal? You want to be right there behind your animal, eye level. Again, just doing the moment as much justice as possible. And also, this will help you with tip number 1. Usually when you're level with that animal, eye level with it, you're going to get a good capture of the background as well.
Absolutely. All right, the next one, unique one here, let the horns shine.
Yeah, this one is specific to sheep, obviously. A couple of these photos here, you'll see these photos are taken from behind the animal. And I think that's probably my favorite angle of sheep photos. Just shows the mass of the horns. Obviously, this is, the most unique feature of a ram is his horns. And you can have one that's busted off. You can have some that are broomed, some that are flared way out. Some are real heavy, some not so much. And so I would just get as many angles of the horns as you possibly can because, you can never have too many photos of them.
You know, when I take photos for fishing articles, I always tell the person I'm photographing, hey, lift up your hat a little bit, take off your sunglasses. But you go further than that. When you talk about removing gear, you're talking about removing backpacks, rifles, optics, just making it the hunter and the animal itself. Why is that important?
I think that's important because you want the focus to be on you and the sheep. That's a moment that you're sharing with that animal that nobody else is going to experience, but you can bring people into that moment by clearing distractions. There's nothing wrong with getting a good gear photo as well of your weapon of choice, but certainly take a few with just your ram as well.
And take a few with your crew, because usually it's a team effort when it comes to getting a bighorn sheep.
Yes, sir. Sheep hunts, you'll find if you draw a sheep tag, you're going to find out how many friends you have. And it's probably more than you could imagine, because people want to go on these hunts, even if they're not the ones with the tags in their pockets. So, do those people justice that are helping you pack, helping you scout, glassing, give those people a chance to shine in that moment as well.
Another one that most photographers know is working the light. Go ahead and tell us what time of day is best for these photos.
This is for any hunt or fishing excursion. I'd say that the best moments are going to be in the early morning and in the evenings, softer light. Obviously, you can't really do much about when you harvest an animal, but you can adjust for angles. Definitely tilt the brim of your hat up. One that I see a lot in the high noon photos is you can't see the eyes because people have a hat on and you got that bad shadow from the sun. So just make sure to tip your caps up. You can get a lower angle or a higher angle if it's a midday harvest.
And number 9, capture multiple angles and keep shooting.
So you can never have too many photos, but you can certainly have too few. I'm not saying shotgun approach it, but kind of shotgun approach it. By shotgun approach, I mean take as many photos as you can. This is more than likely a once in a lifetime. If you're real lucky, maybe a twice in a lifetime opportunity. So get every angle, leave no stone unturned. And, you can delete a bunch of them later, but keep your favorites.
Well, folks, if you want to see some of these great photos that Matt has taken for this article, go to wildsheepfoundation.org. Go to the hunting page, and you'll find it there. Again, that's wildsheepfoundation.org. And Matt, before we go, tell us a little bit about the mission of the Wild Sheep Foundation.
Yeah, so to put it simply, the mission of the Wild Sheep Foundation is to put and keep wild sheep on the mountain. And we have a lot of different ways of doing that, but we are a primarily membership-based organization, and a lot of those funds from our members go directly to wild sheep conservation projects. We also have the Sheep Show in Reno, Nevada every year, where state and provincial fish and game agencies, as well as other organizations, trust us to auction and raffle off these sheep tags. And not to get too far into the weeds here, but sheep conservation functions a little different than deer and elk conservation. There's just way more deer and elk and other big game species on the landscape than there are sheep. So where a deer and elk tag would be under $100 for a resident, because you're selling a lot of them and a lot of hunters can fund that conservation, sheep, there's way less of them. So it's simple supply and demand. These sheep tags are more expensive, and that's simply because there's less tags to go around. And we fund these conservation efforts by auctioning and raffling off these sheep tags for, substantial amounts of money, and 90% or more of the money that we raise from auctioning off these sheep tags, specifically at Sheep Show, go directly back into their conservation.
Well, if you were interested in attending the Sheep Show, again, it's in Reno, Nevada. The dates are January 22nd through the 24th. It's going to be at the Convention Expo Center there in Reno. And go to wildsheepfoundation.org to find out more about the foundation and consider joining it. And the Sheep Show, consider attending it. Matt, thanks so much for sharing all these great tips with us today on America Outdoors Radio.
Thank you for having me, John.
Turning from bighorn sheep to ducks, early teal season is underway this weekend in 2 states. That would be Iowa and Minnesota, and it actually opened up on the 1st in Wisconsin. I've got to tell you, I love hunting teal. We get a few blue wings out here in the Pacific Northwest, and before the season starts, the cinnamon teal are usually gone, so we're predominantly hunting green-winged teal. But I love these birds. They fly low to the ground. They sound like a jet engine when they're coming in as a flock, especially when they buzz right by your blind. And they are not easy to hit. They're about as acrobatic as dove. In fact, I love teal so much that for years, my favorite opening day destination wasn't a place where we were going to get a lot of mallard or widgeon or gadwall. No, it was the teal pond. That's where I introduced my kids to duck hunting. Teal, they're a lot of fun. If you got an early season and they're opening up throughout September in our different states, get on out there, either by yourself, with a buddy, or with the kids, and take your best shot at these small but great tasting birds. On that note, it's time to wrap things up. I really enjoyed our guest today, and I hope you did as well. And if you didn't get to hear the whole show, we will be uploading it as a podcast in the next few days. Just look for America Outdoors Radio wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you're going to be on the road, make sure you check out our website at americaoutdoorsradio.com. We've got 140 stations listed on our website that carry our show, different stations and airtimes throughout the state. So if you're going to be traveling, you don't want to miss us, just check that out. And check out our sponsor links too. And oh, by the way, we do have sponsor openings. If you're interested, just reach out to me through my website at americaoutdoorsradio.com. It is time to go, so here's hoping you are blessed and healthy in the week ahead, and do remember this. It is your country and your outdoors, so get out there and enjoy it.